So let's say you have no work experience, you have no qualifications, and you want to start working in the ambulance service. So there are two options to actually start this process. Your first option, where you effectively don't have to invest anything, and the easiest literally to start today option, is to start working in a non-emergency setting, which will be the patient transport service. In the UK, ambulance services are divided into EMS and PTS. EMS stands for Emergency Medical Services and PTS stands for Patient Transport Services. So the idea would be that you start working in the PTS sector, and then through your employer you actually do courses that will make you qualified to do frontline. You can start working in one sector of the ambulance world and then switch towards the other one. Just to briefly brush over what PTS is, so basically that's the non-emergency ambulance transport that gets your granddad or grandma from your home to the hospital appointment and then drives them back if necessary. Obviously, this branch of the ambulance service is entirely different because it's effectively taxiing patients from a hospital to their home and vice versa. There is no patient treatment involved, so that means that effectively if you can drive, you can do this job. Most of the trusts will hire people who basically have a driving license and are willing to go through a first aid at work course, which is basically like a couple of days of teaching basics of first aid, just kind of God forbid if something goes wrong. And the first aid at work course it's quite simple. Literally anyone can go through it. If you get hired by your employer, most likely they will train you through that. Most of the PTS companies that work as private companies, they also hire in the same kind of requirement style, which means basically if you have a driving license, you can do the job here. Basic research online can kind of give you all the information about what you need for the job and whatnot. But point of the story is usually it's kind of nothing other than the driving license. And if you start working in the PTS sector, you actually have a good chance at some point to get trained to start doing frontline, the emergency care aspect. For example, if you start working for a private company that does PTS, at some point, most likely, they will run a course that will train you to be an ECA, which stands for Emergency Care Assistant. I have personally seen this happen quite a lot. For example, here in London, a lot of private companies have done that. So people will start working in the PTS effectively without any qualifications whatsoever in regards to the actual ambulance world. Then, for example, they will do that job for a year. The employer will start doing those courses and trained, let's say, a select few that will volunteer for that. They will train them in what is called FREC course, which stands for First Response Emergency Care. So to sum it all up, basically, you search for a PTS job, which is Patient Transport Services. That particular job deals with patients in a non-emergency setting. It is fairly easy to get those jobs in the UK. Unless you do something wrong in the interview process and you have a driving license, you should be fine. Through time, if you're patient, let's say half a year, 2 years max, for example, I believe that will be the average in the UK, you should get a chance to actually progress and get trained by your employer. If this doesn't happen, you're not working for a good company, whichever it is. Keep in mind always, PTS career should always have these opportunities to progress. Make sure that through the interview process you ask, is there such thing? Are you able to get trained? Training is very important in the ambulance world, and you always need to be supported by your employer and get better, learn more, etc, etc. So as I've said, first option, getting a PTS job and actually progressing, getting more qualified through courses that are provided by your employer. It can take a little bit of time, but effectively you won't have to invest anything other than your own time, and you're working and getting paid. So it is kind of an ideal that you actually go to your job where you get trained for free and paid your wages. It can really work out well, and I've seen a lot of people who have ended up working, for example, on the front line, doing EMS, here in London, and they actually started doing PTS only. At some point got picked up and trained by their employer, and that's it. And this second option, which is the one that I have done personally, so I can speak from my own experience on how I've done it and how it has worked out for me. So to be more honest, I've done kind of like a combination of the first one and the second option that I'm going to explain. So the second option will be that you don't kind of wait for any employers to train you, but you take this matter into your own hands and you find a private provider that does training in FREC courses. So just to kind of briefly explain, FREC courses are recognized here in the UK by all ambulance trusts. So if you do a FREC course, no matter if you're in London or somewhere up north, in England, it is recognized as a valid qualification. There are different levels of FREC courses. Once again, it stands for First Response Emergency Care. So for example, level 4 would be equivalent to a ECA qualification, which is Emergency Care Assistant, kind of the lowest in the emergency setting of the ambulance world. Anything below FREC 4 is basically for PTS only, the patient transport services, which is non-emergency aspect of the ambulance world. So after doing my FREC 4 course, I have applied for an ECA position and was successful in the ECA assessment. So that's how I started working frontline. So the reason why I said that I kind of done the combination of 1 and 2 is because I was actually working in the PTS. So I was doing non-emergency patient transport. I was doing that maybe for 6 months. And in my company at the moment, there was talk about them running a FREC course, but it got cancelled. So I was quite impatient. I wanted to switch from the patient transport services to the frontline, to the EMS, and I really couldn't wait. I was really impatient, so I did it myself. I booked a FREC 3 course with the private provider. I've done the FREC 3, and literally 3 weeks after that, I've done a FREC 4 course. The reason why I did both is because you have to start from FREC 3. That's the minimum you can start from. So you can't just enroll into a FREC 4 course. You need to get your basics from FREC 3. So that's the lowest you can start from if you have no previous experience. And that's what I've done. So like I said, it was about 6 months that I was working in PTS. I enrolled into a private course. I did FREC 3, FREC 4, literally a couple of weeks later, 3 weeks I believe. And immediately, as soon as I got that certificate in my hands, I just applied for ECA position within my own company where I was already working. So FREC 4 made me qualified to be an ECA, which stands for Emergency Care Assist. Just to briefly go over the qualifications that are recognized in the ambulance service. So ECA will be kind of, like I said, the bottom of the food chain. Then you have your EMTs, which stands for Emergency Medical Technicians, and then you have your paramedics. There are some more advanced levels above that, but that's not really important for this video. So since this video was about how to start working in the ambulance service without any previous experience, like we mentioned, you can become a paramedic. That takes time. It's a 3-year course and you need to be able to basically go through that. A lot of people are looking to get into the ambulance service and they actually already have a job. They have to work. They can't just quit their job and go full-time uni. So this is the way how you can do it. This option is far more suitable for adults who, like I said, simply don't have time to go uni, and they can actually, through this option, they can start working in the ambulance service and build their career. And like I said, it was quite simple for me and straightforward as well. Both of those courses were 5-day courses with additional work that you do after the course. So realistically, it's not difficult at all. Anyone who just sets their mind to it can complete the courses, and after that it's in your hands. You have all the qualifications and you go through the basically typical recruitment processes that you do whenever you're looking for a job. And that will be it. I will be making a bit more videos about my experience and the way everything went for me. So if you're interested in that, have a look around the channel. And other than that, if you're looking to start working in the ambulance service, I wish you best of luck and see you next time.